Imagine a career so massive, so incredibly influential, that it single-handedly reshapes the cultural landscape of an entire language, an entire region, and eventually leaves a colossal footprint on the global cinematic stage. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to explore the phenomenal 40-year cinematic legacy of Mohanlal Viswanathan Nair. From a delayed debut to becoming a decorated, absolute icon of Indian cinema, his journey is a masterclass in evolution, naturalism, and just sheer star power.
Okay, let's dive right into this. 400 plus. Over 4 decades, Mohanlal has acted in more than 400 films. To put that into perspective, that requires an unrelenting pace of consistently delivering multiple feature films every single year since 1978. It's a staggering volume of work for sure, but what's truly remarkable isn't just the quantity. It's the unparalleled quality and the insane versatility embedded within that massive filmography.
And that brings us to the core question of our explainer today. How exactly did a young guy who started out playing universally despised villains eventually transform into the definitive face of Indian cinema? His start was, well, highly unconventional. He didn't walk in with traditional leading man looks or some perfectly paved hero's journey.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The accidental antagonist. 2. Rise of the superstar. 3. Master of nuance. 4. Box office behemoth. And 5. An enduring legacy. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The accidental antagonist.
You know, Mohanlal's entry into the film industry was honestly a series of fateful accidents. He was actually a state wrestling champion in the late 70s, definitely not a child prodigy groomed for the silver screen. His very first role was secured simply because his friends submitted an application for him. In 1978, he filmed his debut Thirunatham playing a mentally disabled servant, but censorship issues delayed its release for 25 years. So his actual screen debut became the 1980 romance Manjil Virinja Pookkal. But get this, he wasn't the romantic lead, he was the menacing antagonist. Let's move along and see how this builds, because by 1983 he had amassed over 25 film credits and the vast majority of them had him playing the bad guy.
There's this amazing story about his audition for that 1980 debut film. He auditioned in front of a panel of professional directors, right? Well, 2 of them were actually displeased with his appearance. They thought he completely lacked conventional leading man looks, and they gave him terrible marks. But directors Fazil and Jijo Apachan, they saw past the surface. They gave him a 90 and a 95 out of 100. True, raw talent shone through, even when he didn't fit that traditional mold.
And this brilliantly illustrates his vast emotional range really early on. We can see this stark contrast between his menacing villainy in Manjil Virinja Pookkal and his pivot just 4 years later to the 1984 ensemble comedy Puchakkuru Mukkutti. Here, he played a young, totally relatable guy in love. It proved he could master lighthearted, good-hearted comedy just as effectively as dark, brooding antagonism.
Section 2. Rise of the superstar. So by the mid-1980s, Mohanlal transitioned from being a really reliable character actor into an absolute phenomenon. The late 80s marked this explosive run. 1986 was a watershed year where he acted in 36 films. Actually, scratch that, 36 films in a single year. Let that pace sink in. But it was his role as underworld Don Vincent Gomez in Rajavinte Mekan that truly cemented his superstar status. Then in 1988, the romantic comedy Chitram completely shattered box office records. And just a year after that, the 1989 tragedy Curatum earned him a national award mention. He was literally dominating every single genre.
I want you to really focus on this hard data point for a second. 366. That is the staggering number of consecutive days that his 1988 film Chithram ran in a single theater. That's a full leap year's worth of sold-out shows. This objectively proves the massive, unprecedented cultural grip he had on audiences. People weren't just watching his films, they were experiencing them on repeat.
But, why were they watching so obsessively? His stardom wasn't just built on larger-than-life action sequences. Through collaborations with brilliant writers and directors like Srinivasan and Padmarajan, Mohanlal portrayed the highly relatable angst of the educated, unemployed Malayali youth. He was acting in these realistic social satires, totally breaking conventional stereotypes. He wasn't just a star on a pedestal, he was the everyman in the crowd. And that relatability, that's everything.
Moving on to Section 3, Master of Nuance.
Look, superstardom is one thing, but universal reverence from harsh film critics and legendary peers, that is a whole different ballgame. And it all comes down to naturalistic acting. Mohanlal relies on a spontaneous, incredibly subtle performance style. He once famously described his process as being akin to effortlessly entering another person's body.
We see this in the raw, visceral mental agony he portrayed in Kiradam and his mesmerizing performance as a complex classical dancer in the Cannes premiered Indo-French film Vanaprastham. He doesn't act, he simply exists on screen.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scale of the comparison. Filmmaker Fazil, remember, he's one of the directors who gave him top marks in that 1980 audition, stated that Mohanlal is the most flexible actor in the country. He noted that Mohanlal could pull off the comedic, transformative genius of Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie or the raw physical action of Sylvester Stallone in Rambo with equal ease. I mean, that is global-level versatility right there.
And this reputation easily crossed regional borders. When he made his Bollywood debut in the 2002 crime drama Company, playing a Mumbai police officer, the Hindi film industry was stunned by how seamlessly he fit in. Director Ram Gopal Varma summarized it perfectly, calling him one of the finest actors in the country who can slip into any role easily. Reader's Digest India cemented this reputation in 2004 with this beautiful quote, "Cinema's jack of all trades and master of many. Whether he's carrying a delicate family drama like Tanmatra without speaking a single word in the second half, or delivering pitch-perfect comic timing, or performing complex classical arts, he truly is a master craftsman."
Section 4. Box Office Behemoth.
Critical acclaim is amazing, obviously, but we need to pivot to the sheer financial gravity he exerted. Mohanlal wasn't just critically loved, he was an absolute titan of industry commerce. In the year 2005, films starring Mohanlal, alongside peers Mammootty and Dilip, accounted for 95% of the total Malayalam box office gross. Let that sink in for a second. 95%. The entire rest of the acting industry shared the remaining 5%. It perfectly illustrates the absolute magnitude of his market control and the unwavering loyalty of his fan base.
So, the crucial point here is that his dominance wasn't limited to just a single decade. In 2013, Drishyam became the highest-grossing Malayalam film. Then he shattered his own record with Pulimurugan, the very first Malayalam film to hit 100 crore. Then came Lucifer, launching the 200 crore club, and even into 2025 with L2 Empuraan, he continues to redefine the financial ceiling of the industry. It's like he's his own only competition.
Section 5. An enduring legacy.
As we enter the final act of this explainer, we have to look at the massive accolades this 40-year journey has generated. The hardware he has collected is simply unparalleled. He's won 5 National Film Awards. The Indian government has bestowed upon him the Padma Shri and the Padma Bhushan, 2 of the highest civilian honors in the country. In 2025, he was awarded the Dadasaheb Phalke Award, literally the absolute pinnacle of recognition in Indian cinema. And beyond film, he is the first actor to ever be awarded the honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Territorial Army.
Furthermore, it is absolutely crucial to realize that his legacy entirely transcends his home state of Kerala. He's delivered massive pan-Indian hits across Tamil, Hindi, and Telugu cinema with films like Iruvar, Company, and Jannatha Garage. He led the 1997 film Guru, which was India's official entry to the Oscars. He premiered at Cannes, and he remains securely ranked on IMDb's 100 most viewed Indian stars globally. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. What will future generations of actors learn from Mohanlal's unprecedented 40-year evolution? From an accidental, unconventional villain to a master of naturalism, and finally a box office behemoth decorated with India's absolute highest honors. His filmography is essentially a vast library of acting genius just waiting to be studied. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go explore his incredible body of work for yourself.